Okay, China Map Atlas lesson. Take a few minutes right now and get a piece of notebook paper and set it up just like this one with your first and last name, the date and the period number in the upper right hand corner up here. China Map Atlas lesson there. Put a section for facts, number it 1 to 5, skip lines, and then put a section for questions and don't number the questions. Okay? Do that right now. Alright, in the first section of this paper, what I want you to do is simply to find 5 facts from any map in the book. So I'm going to give you 2 examples. Okay? I'm going to look at first page 61. So take your map atlas and open it up to page 61. Now the first thing I notice is that this is a climate map. All these are the different colors of climates. So simply enough, I'm just going to find a state that's all one color. Georgia. Georgia is light green. When I look at the climate key, it says that light green is humid subtropical climate. So, fact number 1, Georgia has a humid subtropical climate. So I'm going to write that in my fact. And you write yours in as well. Georgia has a humid subtropical climate, and I got that from page 61. So there's your first fact. Georgia has a humid subtropical climate, page 61. Okay, now for your second example, we're going to turn to page 66 and 67. So take a moment and do that. 66 and 67 is energy resources and mineral resources, and here's your key. So I just want to take one fact from this map. Simple enough. I look over here at Oregon. I see 1, 2, 3 symbols that say AU. I look at my key. AU is gold. So my fact is simple. Oregon has gold. Or you can find gold in Oregon. Okay, so now we go back to our facts. Fact number 2. Oregon has gold. Page 66. Now take about 5 minutes and find 3 more facts from any map in the book. Okay, now we're ready to take a look at the instructions. Number 1, open your Student World Atlas to page 96 and find China. Let's do that first. Here's page 96, and there's China. Okay, now let's see what it says next. What is the capital city? Okay, we go back to China, we zoom in, and in the key on the bottom left hand corner it says capital cities are stars with circles around them. In China I start scanning around and pretty soon I find a star with a circle in it. Now there's 2 words here. There's a dot and the word Tianjin, and there's a star and the word Beijing. What you want is you want the word that has the letter closest to what you're looking for. In this case, we're looking for the star. So the G in Beijing is closer than the T in Tianjin. So that means the capital city of China is Beijing. All right. So we're going to write that as number 1 in our answer sheet. Questions. Number 1, B-E-I-J-I-N-G. And we're going to put a semicolon. Okay, rest of number 1. What countries border China to the north? List each country and its capital. Hint, there are only 3. Okay, so I go back to my map of China. Here's China. I'm going north. Well, the first country I get to is Mongolia, but look over here. If I go north from this side of China, I get to Kazakhstan. Then if I go north from the middle of China, I get to Mongolia. And if I go north from the eastern part of China, I get to Russia. So my 3 countries are Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and Russia. And the capital cities are Astana, right here, Ulaanbaatar right there. And the capital of Russia is going to be on the Europe map, and you can look that up if you want, or I'll give it to you in a minute. But for now, those are our countries. So write them down. Kazakhstan, Astana. You need to write the country and the capital city down. The country and the capital city, the country and the capital city, and put that on your paper right now. And you put that right here. I'll start. Kazakhstan, C-A-K-A-Z-A-K-H, Kazakhstan, S-T-A-N. I think I pronounced that or spelled that right, comma, and then the capital city was Astana. Did I pronounce? I did spell that right. Huh. Astana, A-S-T-A-N-A. Now you finish it up with Mongolia and Russia and their capital cities as well. Okay, now we're ready to go to number 2. Now look at the longitude and latitude lines on the map. Now notice I did not tell you to go to a different map. So if I don't say change to another map, you stay on whatever page we were on. So we're still on page 96. Now look at the longitude lines on the map. Hint, remember that longitude lines run long ways up and down on the map and curve slightly toward the center top. Latitude lines are like rungs on a ladder and curve up on both ends. What latitude line is almost all of China in between? Now look at the longitude lines. What longitude lines is almost China in between? Okay, let's try that. So, the question asks us to do latitude lines first. That's this way. Now this line goes through the middle of China, so we want the 2 lines that China is in between. Well, China is in between this line here. That's to the top. And then the rest of China is right here. So if I want to get this last part of China, I'm going to choose this line way down here. Even though it goes through India, it still includes all of China. So my 2 latitude lines, okay, are simply, follow it over there. What is it? 20 north and, there's a good number, 50 north. So that's my 2 latitude lines. Now let's do our 2 longitude lines. They run up and down. So let's go all the way out here, and let's use this one because it has most of China. So we'll start with this one, and it is, if you can see that down below, that's 80 east. And now let's get the other longitude line, and we'll take this one since it's got just about everything except that tiny corner. So there's most of China there. And this one is not numbered there at the bottom. But the one to the left it's 120, and the one to the right is 140. So what line is that in the middle? It must be 130 east. So there's your 4 lines. Take a minute and write those 4 numbers down. Then the question says, so which 2 hemispheres is China in? Hint, remember that the globe is divided northern and southern hemispheres and eastern and western hemispheres. Now based on the numbers that you wrote and the letters that you put after them, either N's or E's, which 2 hemispheres is China in? Well, our first choice is either northern or southern. Which hemisphere is it in? It's in the northern hemisphere. Then our other choice is eastern or western. Based on the numbers we wrote down, which hemisphere is it in? It's in the eastern hemisphere. Okay? Now let's do number 3. What large island is off China's east coast? Well, there's China. If you don't remember north, east, south, and west, there's the compass rose at the bottom of the map. North, east, south, and west right here. So if I'm going east, be careful. If you go straight across, look at how you're crossing lines. That's not really east. You have to stay parallel to the latitude lines. So if I'm going to the east of China, which large island nation do I come up with? Okay, I come out here. Here, these are not islands, that's a peninsula, but this is an island. So the large island nation to the east of China is Japan. So we're going to write down Japan for number 3. And that'll be our answer. Number 4. Now look at the map on page 97 and find China. Okay, so the map on page 97 is down below. Now notice China is not labeled, but if I compare the two maps, China is this big purple area with this fat piece coming off to the right. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to find that same fat piece coming off to the right, so that must mean this is all China. And once you find China, you need to find a landform. Number 4 goes on to say, find the North China Plain. Now you have to just start scanning around and reading the different landforms until you find the North China Plain. Have you found it yet? Here it is right there. There's the North China Plain. The instructions go on to say, what are the 4 latitude-longitude lines that enclose the North China Plain? Remember, latitude lines and longitude lines. Well, there's 4 lines. North China Plain is in a box. See? 1, 2, 3, 4. What I want you to do is I want you to follow those lines all the way out to the edges of the map and tell me what numbers they are. So what's the line to the top of the North China Plain? Well, we follow it out and we get to 40 north. What's the line under the North China Plain? Well, if you follow that out, you get to 30 north. What's the line to the right of the North China Plain? If you follow that all the way down, you get to 120 east. Now you may not be able to see that, but it's right there. Look on your map, on your book. And then go back to the North China Plain and go to the other side. Follow that all the way down. And that line is not labeled. But 100 east is labeled and 120 east is labeled. So what is that line there? Right, 110 east. Take a moment and write those down for number 4. Number 5 says, now find the Manchurian Plain in China. Hint, it's just northeast of the North China Plain. What are the 4 longitude-latitude lines that enclose the Manchurian Plain? Well, here was North China. We go northeast to find the Manchurian Plain. Can you see that now? Go northeast from North China Plain. Okay, northeast is this way. And there it is, Manchurian Plain. And it's also in a box. What are the 4 lines that make up the box that the Manchurian Plain is in? Take a few minutes now, trace those lines to the left or to the right of the map, to the bottom of the map, and tell me what the 4 numbers are for number 5. Now, number 6. It says, turn to the populations map on page 98. Okay, let's take a minute to do that. That's 1 page back. There's page 98. And there's your key, population map. And the instructions go on. Use cardinal directions northeast, south, and west. Which region of China is the most populated? But if you don't remember, north is to the top, south is to the bottom, east is to the right, and west is to the left. So if I put my pencil right here in the middle of China, which region of China has the most people living in it? North, south, east, or west? Check your population key at the top. Notice the colors and what they mean. Right, it's east. More people live over here than over here. As a matter of fact, according to this color right here, hardly anybody lives there at all. Okay, so our first answer for number 6 is simply east. Take a moment and write that down on your answer. Now the rest of number 6 says, use the climate and annual precipitation maps on page 100 to explain why the eastern half of China is so much more populated than the western region of China. So if we go over just one page and find the precipitation map down here, annual precipitation. What does precipitation mean? It means how much rain we get, or a region gets. And notice, the darker the color, the more rain. So everything dark purple gets 203 inches of rain a year. Now, what are we trying to figure out? Well, let's back up real quick. We're trying to figure out why the eastern part of China has so many people living in it. And the clue to that answer is in the precipitation map. Here's China. Where did most people live? Here or here? West or east? Right, they lived on the east. Well, now do you see why everybody lives in the eastern region of China? Yes, because the eastern region of China gets so much more rain than the western region of China. So that's your answer for number 6. The eastern region of China gets more rain. That's why people live there. Okay? So just explain that quickly. You don't have to go into long sentences. Just tell me, just answer that question. Why does everybody live on this side of China? Okay, now let's go to number 7. Now turn to page 99 and look at the land use and resources map and find China. List 5 resources found in China today. Okay, so we're going to go to page 99 and we're going to take a look at this map at the bottom of the page. This is land use and resources. Alright, now here's your, look at China. There's China. Look at all those symbols inside of China. Alright. Now, here's your resources right here. There's all your symbols. All I want you to do is find the names of 5 of these resources. So just match up the symbols in China with the key and list 5 mineral or major resources found in China. Do that now. Okay? Now, last one is number 8. Now turn to page 100 and look at the annual precipitation map. How much rain does most of western China receive each year? Hint, there is no compass rose on this map, so remember that east is to the right and west is to the left. Okay, so we're going to go back to page 100 and answer that basic question. How much rain does most of western China receive in a year? Here's China. Here's western China. How much rain do they receive? Okay, now the instructions say, now read the paragraph to the right of the map. When you read the paragraph, look back at the map at the different regions it mentions. Now explain why western China gets so much less rain than India to the south. Well, let's read the paragraph together. The countries of South and Southeast Asia experience the most rainfall. South and Southeast Asia, right here. This is South and Southeast Asia. They experience the most rainfall. This rainfall occurs primarily between the months of April and October. Warm, moist winds from the south, called monsoons, bring the rain to this part of the continent and also pile snow deeply upon the peaks of the Himalayas. So winds blow in this direction and bring rain. It also brings snow right here. Here's the Himalaya mountains right there. The monsoons do not reach the interior of the continent, which remains dry throughout the year. The driest countries are in the southwest. So, question, explain why western China gets so much less rain than India to the south. Why does it not rain here and yet it rains right here? Why does this region get hundreds of inches of rain a year and this region right there gets no rain a year or hardly any rain? Alright, now you're ready to do your math activity. So get a map from the countertop and work through those questions or those activities right there. Thank you.